Allowed to do their jobs. We're digging deeper tonight as deputies in Cowlitz County say they're frustrated and hurt.
And what they're blaming is a new series of police reform laws in Washington for preventing them from arresting a domestic violence suspect safely.
Yet deputies tell our Lindsay Nadrich those reforms are having unintended consequences. What did they tell you exactly, Lindsay?
Well, the new law prevents police from using ammunition of .50 caliber or greater. So the Cowlitz County Sheriff's Office says that means the beanbag rounds they have are off limits, and so is the firearm they use to launch tear gas. And on a call yesterday that ended with an injured canine and a deputy in the hospital, they say both of those less lethal options were needed.
Taking those tools away creates a much shorter path between less lethal and lethal force.
Around 10 a.m., the sheriff's office says a woman called 911 saying her husband was armed with a knife and threatened to sacrifice her to God. Deputies arrived and tried to negotiate with him. Normally, the sheriff's office says they would have fired beanbag rounds to get him to comply the one time he did come outside, and later would have used the beanbag rounds to break windows and shoot tear gas into the home to get him to come out. But because of the new law, they say those weren't options.
Based on the way that they have written House Bill 1054, we cannot use the 12-gauge beanbag rounds, and we cannot use the 40-millimeter platform to either launch gas rounds or the foam rounds that we have for that as well.
Instead, deputies say they had to use rocks to break the windows and could never safely deploy tear gas. So eventually, the SWAT team had to go into the home. Once inside, the sheriff's office says the man cut the police canine's ear and tried to rip an officer's eye out of his socket, spit in his face, and bit his hand as they tried to take the man into custody. I'm told they did use a taser, but it didn't stop him.
This was a scenario that we were worried could happen. We've tried to prepare for it as best we can, but frankly, without those options, we're scrambling, and people are going to get hurt. Our suspects are going to get hurt. Our officers are going to get hurt, and this affects our communities. This isn't just something that affects law enforcement.
Well, deputies say everyone involved would have been a lot safer had they been able to use those less lethal options, and now want the legislature to change the law. I did also ask if there are smaller beanbag rounds they could use that would comply with the law, but they told me currently they're not aware of any. Reporting live in Cowlitz County, I'm Lindsay Nadrich, KOIN 6 News.
Lindsay, thanks. And we want to continue with this because just before these new laws went into effect 10 days ago, we reported to you on how frustrated police and deputies were, feeling confused about how they were going to be able to do their jobs.
And our investigator Dan Tilkin getting answered on exactly what the law says and whether changes could now be in the works. What did you find out, Dan?
You know, some of the things in the new laws are crystal clear. Right here where it's highlighted, it says specifically neck restraints where pressure is applied to the neck for the purpose of constricting blood flow are prohibited. Well, that's something the Cowlitz Sheriff's Office complained about, writing right here. This tactic could have been used to quickly and safely stop the suspect from attempting to slash SWAT members. As for the Sheriff's Office saying they're banned from shooting tear gas with their equipment that's over .50 caliber, Governor Jay Inslee's spokesman emailed me back saying the sheriff's statement gives the impression there are no less lethal options available at all, which is not the case, meaning they should try other tactics, which, as you heard, they did. I also talked to Representative Sharon Wiley. The Vancouver Democrat was one of the sponsors of the new law.
What do you think about this part where the sheriff's office and the governor's office agreed with me that they can't use their tear gas launchers because they're over .50 caliber? That seems like a huge unintended consequence.
It is. It is. And obviously that's, things like that we're going to have to look at them and say, what kind of clarification do we need?
So you're willing to look at changing the law?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wiley told me despite the unintended consequences, she believes reforms were necessary to demilitarize police and concentrate more on community policing. The governor's office also told me that legislators, our office, and others are working with law enforcement agencies to provide clarity as they implement the law. So a lot of confusion.
Yeah, but